Every time you see me hit, you know that I'm draining the swamp.
From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you into this weekend edition of For the People. We kick it off on Friday. At the time of the official tapings, April 13th, 2018. If you want to be punctual, and I'll allow you to do that on a Friday, because some of us are not so punctual, but you occasionally like to know what day of the week it is. Is that what day it is? It's, the ominous Friday the 13th. People make a big deal out of it. But, some of you are superstitious. You see a black cat, you kind of stay away from the black cat. The problem is, if you have a black cat, what are you going to do? Put it outside? Just a thought there. It's a great day. It's beautiful here in Florida. We're doing the show. A little breeze, blue skies, and seriously, not a cloud in the sky. Lower humidity, which is absolutely beautiful. Yesterday, it was unbelievable, and you wouldn't think that this went down yesterday with the confirmation hearings or the hearings beginning to nominate Mr. Pompeo as the next Secretary of State, as Rex Tillerson, is going to be out of there. And, man, what a grilling. What an absolute grilling. And the reason I say you wouldn't know anything, because today everything's James Comey, but we'll get into that. But, yes, a grilling. And, we didn't expect anything less, to be honest with you. I mean, this is just, what happens when you are confirming anybody. There's going to be questions asked. It's the number of questions and how the questions were asked. But speaking of asking, John Barrasso, I think, is a great person to ask how things went down yesterday. And, of course, he is the Republican senator and member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, John Barrasso. John, how did things go yesterday?
Well, I thought he was terrific. Clear answers, concise answers, and convincing answers. Anybody looked to him who didn't have a preconceived notion would say this man ought to be Secretary of State of the United States. He has the background, and he has the forward view as well.
Now, he made it pretty clear. Now, if there's Dems listening, which we do have Dems, independents, people that don't even vote, but we have Republicans, good Republicans, moderate Republicans, whatever Republican brand that you want. But what somebody doesn't want is to have somebody in the position of Secretary of State that's going to be a yes person. And I'm going to explain a little bit further, but let's again ask John Barrasso. He did make it pretty clear on that very point that he wasn't going to be a yes man solely, right?
Well, and he hasn't been as the CIA director for the last year. They have a good working relationship. The chemistry is good between them. There's a respect both ways. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief of our military. Mike Pompeo, with his background and his understanding of the issues, is the right person. I've traveled with him internationally to security conferences. Right. He knows the people. He knows the policies, knows the issues. He's the one to do the job.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but Rex Tillerson, it never made sense to me, to be honest with you. I mean, I understand the business connection, and he knew people around the world. It's just, it's a very special position, and he just never seemed to rise to the occasion. And I don't personally know the guy. Most of our audience doesn't personally know any of these figures. We just read about them, we see, and we end up hearing what they want to say and tell us. And again, what the media ends up, throwing out there and spilling out there. But, CEO of Exxon, I mean, I get Donald Trump's popularity and the appeal of draining the swamp, but it's just the association, I suppose, with the business deal with oil and gas, with the Cheneys, with the Bushes, and with Russia. It just, and not to say that Rex Tillerson did anything wrong per se as the Secretary of State. It's just I don't think he's going to go down as being one of the all-time great Secretary of States, if you know what I mean. Cory Booker, look, the guy is trying to jockey position. He's got political aspirations. He's a party person. He's going to stick with the talking points of the party of what's going on. But some of his wacko questions regarding sexuality and what about the Muslims? How are you going to treat them? Here we go.
Well, and the Secretary of State nominee did talk about human rights and the importance of that internationally. But you've got to realize some of these Democrats are trying to out-liberal each other as they're actually trying to position themselves to run for president.
The bottom line is, John Barrasso, very respected on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, is Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo, is he right for the job?
And Mike Pompeo, he is the person to do this job. He knows the issues, and we got to get rid of the distractions and focus on really what is hand here. Threats that we face as a nation today, threats ongoing, and threats long term. And in terms of making sure in an America first approach, where we are the strongest, most powerful, and respected country in the world, economically, militarily, politically, you need somebody at the head of state. In terms of Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo is the person.
Now, that's the answer. That's the answer that you want. That's the absolute answer that we need. I think this is going to show absolute credibility, definitely much so, much more than Rex Tillerson. I almost feel bad for Rex Tillerson. He was thrown in. I think he was honored to get into the position as Secretary of State, but I just don't think he was really the best qualified, best suited to do such a job. And again, I don't think there's anything to scold him for. He was asked, he was called upon, and most people called upon by the President of the United States, the highest office in the land. I mean, you're going to do it. I think he did the best job that he could possibly do. But obviously, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of wheels going. And honest to goodness, Donald Trump needs some real good people working and making this happen, because there's a lot of things coming at us at once, a lot of decisions. Yes, Syria. Yes, it seems like we're going to act. Yes, it seems like there's going to be a strike, and that's going to be it's going to have to happen. Assad cannot continue killing people like Saddam Hussein killing his people. We're not going this alone, but whether the Tomahawk or there's something that's going to be worse than Tomahawk, but to me, if you're going to do another strike, this one is going to have to rival anything that we've done so far, and this is going to have to literally make head spins and cause not just damage, to cause damage on some of the air bases, because they rebuilt the air bases quickly. They had planes taken off in those things and record time, because he dispatched his people, all the maintenance people to sweep that stuff off, get his cement people in there to do it, and, as defiant as ever after that. But we're going to have to literally destroy all the best intelligence that we have on where these chemical weapons are being made, where they're being stored, these bases where they can't get in the ground for a long time. And we got help from the French. We got the Brits on our side. We got carriers that are steaming there. We got carriers that are there. We have a lot of firepower. And now, what about Russia? It's like that movie, What About Bob? It's a great movie if you haven't seen What About Bob? Yeah, great movie. Bill Murray. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to give it away. But what about Russia? What about Russia? The truth of the matter is, militarily speaking, they got nukes. They're not going to use nukes against us if we do it. We out-firepower them, literally, with the amount of power that we have with the Tomahawks, the surface-to-air missiles, and our allies, there's no match. Russia's not going to be a problem. Anybody worrying about Russia right now, they don't have it. They don't have the firepower. No, they're going to not launch nukes. But let me tell you something. The world is watching for leadership. Mr. President, the Pentagon, the smartest minds, please. And speaking of a smart mind that I believe will do a fine job advising the president is Mike Pompeo. He's very smart. Listen, the Washington Post, believe it or not, is backing Mike Pompeo's confirmation. Okay? He's got a lot of folks very, very proud of this nomination. The Washington Post editorial board this past Thursday urged the Senate to confirm Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State because as President Donald Trump juggles multiple crises without adequate counsel, not doing so probably would make an already perilous situation worse. So they see it. They're smart about it. In addition, they have National Security Advisor John Bolton, and he has started with a purge of senior staff, by the way, the Post points out. That's bound to happen when you get somebody that takes a position. But there's a lot of wheels turning. A lot of wheels. And companies fire people all the time, in and out. But there's a barrage of so many things that are hitting this president right now. And I just say, look, pray for the Trump administration. Pray for Donald Trump and his, that he would literally use wisdom from on high, because there are some tough decisions that are going to have to be made that are going to not only impact his administration for the future, but impact our country moving forward, because any move that we make is going to certainly have an impact on the negotiations with North Korea, with redoing the quagmire with Iran. We're going to have to figure that out again because it's going to have to be renegotiated. We have problems with them. We have a lot of deep-rooted issues. Folks, gangs, we got drug problems. There's an epidemic over here. Luckily, jobs and unemployment are down. That's a beautiful thing. There's a lot of problems in our world, folks, and, a lot of these talking points, things that you hear in the headlines can be sometimes very depressing and sometimes very troublesome to even understand and fathom just how much the enormity of stress simply has got to be on anybody that works in the White House, and just the enormity and pressure. No wonder you see presidents come in with darker hair and leave like with the wool on their heads, just white hair or no hair. But I mean, it's a tough job, folks, no matter who's in there. No matter who is in there. The decisions that you have to make, it's tough. But I'm very pleased with what took place yesterday, other than so many of the unnecessaries that took place, and the type of question. It's not the questioning in itself. It's the type of questions and the snarl and the voices, et cetera. And here is some of the sounds from the hearing yesterday.
Do you think Special Counsel Mueller's investigation is a witch hunt?
Do you believe Special Counsel Mueller's investigation is an attack on our country and all we stand for?
I think it'd be really troubling if you couldn't say here today that you don't believe that the Mueller investigation is an attack on America.
Do you think that Muslim Americans in this country who serve in our military, who serve in the State Department, their failure to speak up, are they complicit in terrorist attacks? Do you believe that gay sex is a perversion? Yes or no?
And by the way, I was very proud of Mike Pompeo, his convictions as a Christian. He brings up the Muslims. And look, I'm not here to upset any religion. But you think about it this way, okay? How hypocritical It is, okay? And a largely, predominantly Christian nation, regardless of what anybody thinks, I don't care, because this was founded on Judeo principles, okay? You cannot go